Howdy, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the only CalTV show that's cutting down the nets. I'm Dan Fiedler.
And I'm Paige Keffer.
And today we're going back
and forth. We're halfway through baseball season, and the California Golden Bears are at a lukewarm 15-14. After being swept by Oregon State this past weekend, Dan, where do the Bears need to improve?
Well, I think the number one thing for the Bears to focus on from here on out is their pitching. They've been hitting slightly better than their opponents, which is what has given them their slightly winning percentage, but their pitching, their ERA is lower than their opponents, and they've given up 145 walks and only earning 99. Those walks can really keep a rally going for the other team, and it can put them in a big pickle in some games.
Absolutely. I mean, their 15-14 record, they've had 7 games that have been decided by 1 run, which I think is really interesting and definitely noteworthy. So, they're right there. If they can, hold off on the walks, get the pitching back in, they might be right in this.
Next up, the NCAA Women's Tournament Final was held on Tuesday night with the meeting of the Louisville Cardinals and the University of Connecticut Huskies. Curiously absent from this game was the bracket picks of most of the nation, including President Obama. And indeed, in a Los Angeles Times article dated last week, Kurt Streeter panned the sports world for its lack of attention on women's sports. Paige, what's your take on this subject, and how can the attention on women's sports be improved?
Well, Dan, my take on the situation with women's sports, and specifically women's basketball, is that it's really underrated and overlooked.
Okay.
There's great stories. UConn's quest for a perfect season.
Right.
Courtney Paris, 700 points, 500 rebounds, and 100 blocks in one season.
Spectacular.
I'm sorry, Tyler Hansbrough didn't do that. No college athlete did that. That's impressive, and it's not being talked about. It's completely flying under the national radar, which is really sad, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you, but the fact of the matter is, the way the current system is laid out, it's really not going to change because there's no incentive for it to change. When you have the women's tournament and the men's tournament going at the same time, people are naturally and always, I think perennially, going to pay attention to the men's bracket. I think that the only real solution here is to have them at completely separate times so that each of them can get their time in the limelight.
But then we lose the March Madness. I mean, there's no reason that we should do that. I think the way that this needs to be improved is that people need to take a long, hard look in the mirror and say, why aren't I watching women's basketball?
Right. Okay, well, I'm going to put you in charge of that, Paige. You can go doorstep to doorstep.
This past Monday, ESPNU broadcast a February 21st rugby match between the British Columbia and Cal. The Golden Bears won this match 31-15. And Dan, how important is television exposure to lesser-known sports?
All right, Paige, to answer your question first and foremost, I think television exposure is incredibly important to these lesser revenue, lesser-known sports, just because there are people throughout the country that play them, and there's always going to be a market for them. Now, am I happy with the way that this turned out with rugby? Not exactly, because I believe that there's a responsibility to the public. If you're going to deliver these games, deliver them in a timely manner. This game was played over a month and a half ago, and the public has the responsibility, or has the benefit, they should have the benefit of seeing it on time. And ESPNU, it's great that we have this college sports network, but it can't be seen by a whole lot of people. It's only available on DirecTV and Dish Network, which a majority of Americans do not really have. And then there's the whole ESPN360.com, which is available for people, but only if you have a certain internet service provider. So I just don't think it's getting to enough people and in a timely, responsible manner.
I mean, I think it had all the elements that it needed. It probably could have been marketed a little better. I mean, it's tough when you are watching the game 6 weeks after it happened. ESPNU broadcast the UVA Maryland lacrosse game,
that's a great
which
game.
is 2 brand name schools, 7 overtime game, longest game in college lacrosse history. So, I mean, it had all the elements of greatness, but I think, coming back to watching it 6 weeks later, sports is the last great drama.
Exactly.
We never know how it's going to turn out, but in this case, we already did. So.
You've got to keep it current. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Dan Fiedler.
I'm Paige Keffer.
Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the Cal Bear Report. Bye-bye.